Sad story of a poor boy. There was once a poor man named Nicky who lived in a small hut near the palace of the king. He always dreamed of tasting the royal food that was cooked in the palace kitchen, but he knew he could never afford it. He often wondered what it would be like to eat the delicious dishes that he smelled from afar. One day, he heard that the king was going to celebrate his birthday with a grand feast. He decided that this was his chance to fulfill his wish. He thought of a clever plan to sneak into the palace and eat some of the royal food. He went to the market and bought a large basket of fruits. He covered the fruits with a cloth and carried the basket on his head. He walked towards the palace gate and pretended to be a fruit seller. He shouted, "Fresh fruits for sale. Buy some fruits for the king's birthday." The guards at the gate were busy checking the guests who were invited to the feast. They did not pay much attention to Nicky and let him pass through. Nicky entered the palace and looked for the kitchen. He followed his nose and soon reached the place where the food was being prepared. He saw a huge table with various dishes on it. He felt his mouth water as he looked at them. He quickly put his basket on the floor and lifted the cloth. He took out some fruits and placed them on the table. Then he took some of the food from the table and put them in his basket. He covered his basket again and pretended to be arranging the fruits. He repeated this process several times until his basket was full of royal food. He was very happy and thought, "Now I can finally taste the royal food. I will go back to my hut and enjoy it." He picked up his basket and tried to leave the kitchen. But as he was walking, he bumped into a servant who was carrying a tray of sweets. The tray fell down and the sweets scattered on the floor. The servant shouted, "Hey, you! What are you doing here? How dare you steal the king's food?" Nicky was scared and tried to run away. But he was caught by the guards who heard the commotion. They searched his basket and found out that he had stolen the royal food. They dragged him to the king and threw him on the ground. The king was angry and asked, "Who are you? Why did you steal my food?" Nicky trembled and said, "Your Majesty, I am a poor man who wanted to eat your food. I have never tasted such food in my life. Please forgive me." The king looked at him and said, "You are a fool. You risked your life for some food. You could have asked me for some food and I would have given it to you. But you chose to steal it and insult me." He ordered his guards to punish Nicky and throw him out of the palace. Nicky realized his mistake and regretted his greed. He wished he had never tried to eat the royal food. He learned a hard lesson that day. It is better to be content with what you have than to covet what you don't have.